Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for this agent webinar about our new partnership and our extended partnership with the University of Birmingham. We are very excited to announce this extension of our partnership. Kaplan and the University of Birmingham have enjoyed a long and close partnership for a number of years now, welcoming our first students through Kaplan International College in London in 2015. And so today marks a very exciting milestone in our relationship with the University of Birmingham.
So this first image here gives you a view of our spectacular campus, which is set in 250 acres of parkland, which, as you can hopefully see, is made up of the historic red brick buildings, which many of our students picture when they think of a traditional UK university. So the image you have here is of our fabulous 250 acre parkland campus, which, as you can see, is made up of the historic red brick buildings, which many of our students picture when they think of a traditional UK university. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Greg, can you hear me now? Is that better? Great. Could you move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. Birmingham was founded over 100 years ago and was the country's first civic university. And it was really important to the founders of the university that students of all religions and backgrounds were accepted on an equal basis. As you saw from the previous slide, we're a campus university and we're on the doorstep of the UK's second largest city. So we're about a 7-minute train journey from our own university station into the city centre. And we really believe that students get the best of both worlds with us. They have this amazing campus environment, but on the edge of a very vibrant, diverse city. We are incredibly proud to count 11 Nobel Prize winners amongst our previous staff and students. The most recent was awarded in 2016. And we really have this kind of rich vein of research and teaching running through the university. And in particular, the real world application of our research is incredibly important to us. So, for example, Birmingham was one of the pioneers of transplant surgery and is now leading research in areas such as global maternal health, tackling air pollution and sustainable cities. So actually, we really feel that we are at the forefront of some of the dealing with the kind of the emerging crises that are happening around the world. Would you move to the next slide, please? So I guess the other final thing I wanted to mention here is all universities have had to switch to a different way of delivering education in the current climate. So while we've been heavily investing in our campus at the moment, we are in a very different situation. So while students can access seminars, tutorials and labs on campus, we're also teaching at the moment all our modules online this year for students who can't get to campus. And our academic colleagues are working tirelessly to ensure that students get that really same level of quality of teaching that we know is critical for their studies. Would you move on to the next slide, please, Greg? And hopefully that's better. So here you can see Old Joe, who is our iconic clock tower and can be seen from right across the city. He's named after Joseph Chamberlain, who founded the university. We're very proud of the fact that he is the world's tallest freestanding clock tower. And if you have a moment, you can follow him on Twitter. He has a lot to say. So if you get a moment, go and follow Old Joe on Twitter. But the point that I really wanted to make here is that we are a founder member of the Russell Group, which is one of the 24 elite UK universities committed to maintaining excellent academic standards in both teaching and research. And again, this is particularly important to us as that combination of teaching and research excellence across the 24 universities offers students the chance to learn from some of the world's most respected academics, which we feel is really critical to their education. We're regularly featured amongst the top 10 most beautiful campuses in the UK. You can see here in this image the main Aston Webb building, which is right at the heart of our campus and which is home to our student hub, which is a central place for students to go to access the range of support services that we have to offer. And again, I think that's even more important this year as we know that students are dealing with very different circumstances. So the services are not only available in the hub, they're available online for students who can't reach campus. We're also a very safe campus. The fact that we do have a large self-contained campus with so much of the accommodation in close proximity means that our students do feel safe, effectively being a sort of student bubble around the campus. So we think that's particularly important for our international students. The next slide, please, Greg. So again, here you've got another aerial view of our spectacular campus. And there was a couple of things I wanted to point out here. So the white buildings that you can see in the background, there's kind of a chain of 3 buildings, belong to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, which is one of the largest single site hospitals in the UK. And I wanted to mention this because, again, it's another example of our strength in research and teaching. So our relationship with and proximity to the hospital allows for some of our world-leading research in areas such as clinical trials, but obviously for students studying medicine and medicine-related subjects, this is really critical for the access they get to healthcare services and healthcare as part of their education in Birmingham. And the other point I wanted to make, in the foreground, the pictures, sorry, move back one. The pitches and the buildings that you can see in the foreground showcase some of our sports facilities. And in 2022, Birmingham is going to play host to the Commonwealth Games. The university will host both squash and hockey. We're going to host the Athletes Village, and we're an important partner of the Games. And again, we're looking forward to the opportunities this provides for our staff and students. I mean, that's a really exciting time for students who are going to be with us in that summer of 2022. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the city of Birmingham, which, as I've already mentioned, is the 2nd largest city in the UK. You may be familiar with Birmingham for all sorts of reasons. We're known for Cadbury's chocolate, we're known for Peaky Blinders, if you've ever watched it, we're known as the home of the Balti, which are all things that are synonymous with our city. But Birmingham's got a lot more to offer than this and is a real melting pot for our students for shopping, food and drink, nightlife, sport, culture and industry. So it's a very, very vibrant, diverse city. Next slide, please. Our city is multicultural, it's diverse. It's the youngest city in Europe with 40% of the population being under 25. And it has the largest financial and creative districts outside of London. So much so that 2 years ago, HSBC opened a new UK headquarters in the centre of the city, which now employs over 2,500 people. So you can kind of see the investment that's going on in the city. And next slide, please. And again, just showing you some images of the city. You can see here Grand Central, which is our recently remodelled new central train station, which is surrounded by new shops and facilities. And again, it just illustrates the amount of investment going into the city. It is constantly changing and evolving. As I mentioned a couple of moments ago, the Commonwealth Games comes to Birmingham in 2022 and brings with it investment into new facilities, which is going to benefit the city long after the Games is finished. We're about an hour and a half from London, but we're also close to Manchester and other large urban cities. But I think the other important thing about Birmingham is we're also close to areas of historic interest, such as Stratford. So we have a campus in Stratford and in Oxford, which is less than an hour away. And that gives our students, particularly our international students, the opportunity to explore those traditionally English aspects of life in the UK that they look forward to when they come and study here. And the final slide. So this is a picture of the Icon Gallery, which is an English gallery of contemporary art located in the heart of the city. And it's just one example of a diverse range of cultural, sporting and social activities for students in Birmingham, ranging from art galleries, from over 500 restaurants, international sport, galleries, museums, etc. And both Birmingham, the city and the university is a place that our students call home and thrive during their time with us. Thanks, Greg. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that wonderful introduction to the city and to the university. So now moving on to the extended partnership that Kaplan and the University of Birmingham have just entered into. So Kaplan is now going to be working with the university to bring suitably qualified students outside of the UK onto the University of Birmingham's own on-campus foundation pathway. So we will be responsible for conducting all admissions activities up to the point that the student receives their CAS and then travels and gets off the plane in Birmingham or in Heathrow. And we are working towards our first intake of recruitment in September 2021. Important to note that the university is managing the intake of students for their January 21 starting courses, but Kaplan will be responsible for issuing offer letters and supporting students through on their admissions journey for the September 21 intake and beyond. So in terms of the foundation pathways that are delivered by the University of Birmingham, What is unique here is that the foundation pathways are taught on the main campus, that fabulous campus that Carla showed you. The programs are taught on the main campus by university academic staff. So students on the foundation pathway are very much part of the university community from day one. Students have access to those world-class facilities that we saw, and students on the foundation program also have a personal tutor who's there to help and monitor and get the students to help reflect on their progress throughout their course on the pathway. The pathways themselves, I will look in a little bit more detail, but what is interesting is that the university offers both a one-year foundation and a four-year integrated program. So depending upon the pathway that the student will be studying upon, and depending upon their English language level on entry, it is possible for a student to obtain a CAS for 4 years of study. So that would be their 3 years of undergraduate study and including an integrated one-year foundation program. The programs themselves offer guaranteed progression onto the main progression degree. That does exclude medicine and physiotherapy progressions. And on average, about 90% of students progress from the foundation pathway onto their progression degree at the university. The foundation programs that we offer are all undergraduate, so we're not offering, the university does not offer a pre-masters within scope here of this partnership. The four main academic pathways that are available cover progression to 119 undergraduate degrees at the university. And these include four main pathways. So that's the social sciences, business and law, medicine and physiotherapy, medical life and geosciences, and engineering and physical sciences. The social sciences, business and law, and the engineering and physical sciences both offer a September and a January intake. Medicine and physiotherapy, the medical life and geosciences are September start only. The entry requirements for both the September and the January programs are similar in terms of academic profile and background and English language levels, but I will explore that in a little bit more detail shortly. But as I've mentioned, there's a vast range of degree progressions available to students through all of these four progression pathways. Looking in a bit more detail now at the 1 year and 4 year integrated options, as I mentioned earlier, both routes require the same academic entry requirements to join the program, and the academic entry requirements are available on our website, for example, through the degree finder, and you can search on a per country basis to look at the entry requirements. If not, please do contact your market manager for more information regarding those entry requirements. Both routes offer guaranteed progression subject to meeting exit requirements, with the caveat of medicine and physiotherapy. The integrated option does mean, of course, that the student would not need to apply for a second CAS for their undergraduate degree studies. The CAS is issued by the university, but we will support students through the process in terms of getting their documentation ready and presenting those credentials through to the university so that the CAS can be issued in time for the start of their program. For the 1 year program, the entry requirement from a language perspective is a 5.5 IELTS overall, with at least a 5 in each skill. And in order to obtain a CAS, you would of course need to present UKVI CELT. So that would be an IELTS, a PTE, language cert, or Trinity. For students who are seeking entry to the 4 year integrated program, we would of course, the university would of course accept those CELT English language qualifications, but there are alternatives that will be accepted as well, including IELTS Academic and Indicator, TOEFL, and Duolingo as well. To apply for the 4 year option, you would need a 5.5 with at least a 5.5 in each band. Of course, certain degrees might have higher entry requirements. Those are listed here, but there is more information available on the website and on the degree finder as well. The next two slides cover key facts regarding the pathway progressions, and then we should be able to move on to a Q&A session to take any questions that you might have. The fees for the foundation programme are either £19,740 for the business or £21,240. A deposit of £5,000 is required to to secure the place and to enable the student to progress onwards to apply for their CAS. And we do have a range of scholarships available to students, but please contact your market manager for more information around the scholarships that are available for potential students. With the wide range of degrees that we have and with the ranking and the renown that the university has, there are caps against certain degrees due to limitations on students who can progress through. These all sit in the field of medicine and life sciences, and these include nursing with a maximum of 40 students progressing on, physiotherapy with a cap of 6 students, and medicine with a cap of 5. The entry requirements for medicine are different from the standard entry requirements, and those will be available either on the website or through making contact with your market manager. As I mentioned earlier, we have the 1-year and the 4-year integrated option. Certain degrees are only available through an integrated 4-year option, and those would include English, law, nursing and pharmacy. Other options would only be a 1-year route because of the requirement for an additional interview and assessments in order that students can then progress on to their chosen degree, and that would include medicine and physiotherapy. As I mentioned earlier, all applications for the September 21 intake and onwards will be processed through Kaplan. Entry requirements and English language requirements are available on the website, and interviews and personal statements will be required for certain health science degrees as well. In terms of additional support services and most importantly, options for accommodation, the university will manage all options for students for accommodation, for university managed accommodation, and they offer a guarantee if a student applies for their accommodation before the 31st of July, there is a guaranteed option available for them. They have a wide range of accommodation options, including single study rooms, shared kitchen bathrooms, with ensuite social spaces and canteen facilities as well. Insurance facilities and guardians are optional, but will be information again will be available through your market manager. A quick reminder that the Spring 21 intake is going to be managed from the university's perspective, and so no applications will be processed through Kaplan for the Spring 21 route. The KICL route still continues to operate, so if you have students who are interested in a year in London prior to moving to Birmingham for their undergraduate studies, the KICL route to Birmingham is still available. The entry requirements that KICL has published and the entry requirements that the University of Birmingham has published for the foundation pathways will vary because they have slightly different differences in curriculum, and also KICL has a more varied number of intakes with differences in English language requirements as well. So the KICL route exists as a complementary route, particularly for those students who are unable to join those programs in September and January intakes at Birmingham. A reminder that the IELTS and academic requirements for both the September and January intakes are the same, but there is only September available for the medicine, life, geosciences, medicine and physiotherapy progressions. The university offers a range of excellent pre-sessional courses available as well, and those will of course be available for students who hold a pathway offer that has been issued through Kaplan. The university will continue to issue pre-sessional English offers for students who don't quite make the requirements for the September or January intakes as well, and we will support students in the facilitating those offer letters coming from the university to enable them to complete a pre-sessional course before they start their main course of study. So it's now 10:25. I will move on to the final slide, which is the opportunity for questions to come through from yourselves for any questions that you might have to answer. We have 5 minutes left for this. Steve, I do not appear to be able to see the question and answer panel, unfortunately, on my screen. If you might help facilitate that, Steve, I unfortunately cannot actually see the questions that are coming through.
Sure. Okay, so there is a student, it says, if my student's enrolled to 4-year integrated foundation, but failed to progress, will Birmingham help him withdraw his remaining visa and also apply for another university?
Carla, would you like to comment on that one? That was the question about a student who's on a 4-year integrated and doesn't meet the progression requirements from the foundation onto the undergraduate degree.
Elijah and Jess also might want to chip in here, but my first point I would make, have I frozen? My computer's really playing up. So the first point I would make is that actually our progression rates are very, very high. So we have very few people who don't progress through to the degree because of the support we provide them on the programme. So I think probably less than a handful every year don't progress onto their chosen degree programme. Elijah, can you comment on support we would provide to find a place elsewhere?
Absolutely. So we will support students to find alternative universities if they don't meet our academic requirements for progression, for example. So we have supported students in the past to progress to universities in the Midlands. So we've got really good arrangements with local universities in Birmingham and the surrounding areas. So we will support students in progressing to alternative destinations. But as Carl has mentioned, the vast majority of students will progress. So I think our progression rate is typically anywhere between 85% and 90% annually.
I've got another question. When will the scholarships be available for September 2021 intake?
So those are going to be available. You will need to make contact with your market manager to discuss any scholarship options that will be available, and we will share further information as and when we can update that for you. Any other comments on that at all from the university side? I think that we have a joint scholarship pot which we'll be administering, and so that will be available for applicants, but you would need to go to your market manager to obtain further information at this stage.
When do we have a plan to open pre-master options at University of Birmingham?
So that is something I think I could either pass across to colleagues at the university to answer, Carla.
So at the moment, I don't think we do have an immediate plans to do that. That doesn't mean it might change in the future, but at the moment, that option isn't available.
Hi, could you please repeat the pre-sessional English courses? Do we apply through Kaplan or directly to the university?
So the pre-sessional, I can answer this one immediately, Carla, and you can come in and finesse it slightly. So a student would need, first of all, to apply to Kaplan, and we would then issue an offer letter which would state the entry requirements for the particular course that they've chosen. If their English language evidence that they provided would indicate that they are not able to meet the terms, the conditions of that offer, and they need a pre-sessional course, then it's possible for that student with that pathway offer then to apply to the university, and the university would facilitate an offer for a suitable duration pre-sessional English course, which would enable that student then to successfully complete and then progress on to their chosen pathway program.
Nothing to add.
I've got a question. What's the progression requirement for medicine foundation to medicine?
I'll take this one then. So basically for a student that takes a foundation, they do need to take a UCAT firstly. So before they actually start the foundation, they would need a qualifying score. And with during the foundation, obviously they need to have a certain grade they need to achieve within the foundation, but also they need to pass the interview. So basically it's a combination of UCAT, interview, and passing the foundation for you to progress into medicine.
I have a question. At the moment, there's no clear entry requirements with UK curriculum for medicine and physiotherapy foundation pathway with the progression to medicine and surgery.
Yes, I believe that's the case. That's if you have studied an A-level, which is in the case of a UK student, they would be actually needing to require for direct entry. And so students who have studied a UK curriculum, which is A-levels, would not be eligible for the foundation.
Is this only temporary, or does Kaplan not accept IG, CSE and AS for this pathway?
No, that is correct. It's the case that IGCSEs and AS levels are not accepted the foundation.
For physiotherapy foundation, does it require personal statement and interview as entry requirements?
I would need to check that really quickly because I don't have that information to hand right now. Does Carla, Elijah, would you know?
I'm pretty certain, unless I'm wrong, Jess, we will require an interview for physiotherapy. So we've got a set number of places for physio. So in addition to an application, shortlisted candidates should expect to be interviewed.
Yeah, I believe that is the case. I'm not 100% in terms of the progression, but I think during their foundation, the same as medicine, they do have an interview process in which they need to pass the foundation with certain grades, as well as pass the interview process.
What is the entry requirement for University of Birmingham's foundations? Are O-level graduates eligible?
O-level graduates are, so we do accept what we deem GCSEs at a high level. So we will accept grades, and it will ultimately depend on the stream of the foundation that you're taking, so it's the pathway. So they will vary slightly, but high scoring O-level students would be considered for entry onto the foundation program, and those requirements will differ by the intended progression degree.
Coming up to the last couple questions. 1 year foundation and integrated foundation students, will they be in the same class or in different classes?
They will be in the same classes. So there are slightly different entry requirements. So where there will be a difference in terms of teaching for those students is that those on the 1 year program, because they're entering with a lower English language requirement typically, they'll be in separate classes for English language and study skills, but for all other academic elements, they'll be in a shared class with the integrated students.
Thank you. Steve, how are we doing for time? Are we unfortunately running out of time here, I think?
Yes, we are.
So what we'll do is there are a number of questions that we might not have been able to address because of the time constraints upon us. We will endeavour to capture those, and we will be able to circulate a copy of this presentation to agents so that you can catch up and look at these slides, and we will then endeavour to answer those as an FAQ to provide certain clarity either directly by your market managers or when we share the presentation, so that you have answers to the questions that you've raised that unfortunately we have not had time to cover today. So thank you very much for your attention. It's been a pleasure to present today, and so thank you very much to my colleagues at the University of Birmingham, Carla, Elijah and Jess, and to Sam as well for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming those applications going forward and to celebrating this partnership with an intake, a positive intake for September 21 and beyond. So thank you very much everyone for your attention.